Today we're going to talk about creating fraction word problems. Last week we talked about creating division word problems, but we're going to talk about creating fraction word problems. So this week we've been focusing on reviewing all types of fractions. So that's what we're going to do with word problems. So our first key is to think about creating problems that are like ones we've seen before, creating problems using the action words or those key words that we know, and you have in your notebook action words that show you for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So we need to think of two things to make a good word problem. We need to think of a situation with items that can be broken into fractions, and we need to think of what keywords or action words that we're going to use. So I have the first equation that we're going to use. We're going to use 2 2/5 plus 3 2/5. So that was 2 2/5 plus 3 2/3. So let's look at what our action words, keywords for addition. So we're going to do things like combined, how many in all, how much, together. So I need to think of two items. I could flip back a few pages in my notes and look at a page that we took notes on about different things that you could have fractional pieces. So I'm just going to say I have maybe a bag of M&Ms, and my friend has a bag of Skittles, but how many? So I'm going to start off with I have 2 2/5 bags, I think I said, of M&Ms. So I know M&Ms are easy to have into little parts, and so it would be really easy to think of a fraction. My friend has 3 2/3 bags of Skittles. So what do I want to do? Let's go back to my action words. I'm going to flip back and look at if we combined our candy, how many total bags would I have? So if I'm going to say my friend and I, I'm going to use that action word that I saw, combined. Combined our candy. So if my friend and I combined our candy, how many bags would we have in total? Okay, I would like you to come up with a different example that uses the same set of fractions. Go back to that page if you need to, and let's look at things that can be split into parts. We could have a piece of wood that is this long. We could have ribbon that's this long. We could have this much of pizza that one person has, this many pizzas that somebody else has, and you are combining or adding together. Go ahead, pause the video and try to write your own word problem. When I check off your notes tomorrow, I'll look and see if your word problem is accurate, if it matches an addition. Okay, let's move on to a subtraction word problem. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have our equation is going to be 4 1/2 minus 1 5/8. So I have 4 1/2 minus 1 5/8. Let's look at my key action words for subtraction. So if something is decreasing, there's a difference. I could use that. How many are left over? I could think of a problem where I start with a total and I use something and I'm asking what's left over. I could talk about how much longer is one thing than another. I could talk about taking something away. I'm going to choose this one, how much longer. So I need the same type of thing, but I could say that I have, maybe we're having a snail race. That's what I'm going to do. So, Bob and John are racing their snails. Bob's snail went 4.5. I don't think snails can get very far, so I'm going to say feet. John's snail only went 1 5/8. I have to use feet because if I'm subtracting, I have to use the same term. What was my action words again that I wanted to use? How much longer, except I'm not going to do longer, I'm going to do how much further. So, how much further did, I need to know which one went further. It was Bob's that was longer, so I'm going to start with Bob. How much further did Bob's snail go than John's? So, I need you to pause the video and write your own word problem that has something to do with 4.5 minus taking away, subtracting 1 5/8. You can find the difference between something. You can see how many are left over. You can take something away. How much is less? How many are left? Pick one of those that's not the one that we just did, and use the same numbers. Tomorrow when I check your notes, I'll be looking for that word problem as well. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, we're going to now move on to a multiplication problem. We're going to use this example right here. We have 1 3/4 times 2 1/6. 1 3/4 times 2 1/6. So let's look at what we've done in word problems. Let's go back to our action words. By dimension. So I could have an area of a room. One length of a room be 1 3/4 meters maybe. The other one be 2 1/6 meters. I could take something that's multiplied or a product. I know with fractions, this is kind of taking parts of a part. So I'm going to set up a word problem that has, this is what somebody has. Let's say, I remember this from earlier in the week that we had something that looks like this. Julie has 1 3/4, I'm going to say pounds of strawberries. Now Julie's friend, I'm going to pick a name for Julie's friend. Brenda, I'm going to use some of my action words here, has times as much. Brenda has 2 1/6 times as much as Julie. So I need to figure out what my question is. I'm not going to ask what Julie has because it already told me. I'm trying to figure out what total Brenda has. So how many pounds of strawberries does Brenda have? So what I want you to do is pause the video and try to write your own word problem for 1 3/4. times 2 1/6. So remember, we could be using any of these. We could do dimensions. We can do an area of something, a length and a width. So you could say groups only really work with whole numbers, so I would save that one. But you can also do one that's very similar to what we've already done. Go ahead and pause that video. All right, we're going to move on to one more type of multiplication. 2/5 times 3. So if I have 2/5 of something times a whole number, let's look at our action words and see what we can do. This is where the groups pull in. So I would have 3 groups of something. So what's something that I could have left over? Let's say each day I eat 2/5 of something. So each day I eat 2/5 of a bag of apples. Lately, I've been buying those bags of apples that are already cut up. So 3. If I'm saying each day I eat this, let's say my question is, after 3 days, how many do I eat? So after 3 days, how many bags of apples did I eat? So I'm looking for when I have a fraction times a whole number. I'm looking for something that I can do repeatedly, something I can have 2/5 of and I can do it 3 times. Or if I have 2/5 and I have 3 friends that have it and I all want to combine something. So again, I'm looking for something that's a total when I have a whole number times a fraction. The last problems that we were going to go over was division, but we just took notes a few days ago of how to write word problems starting when you have 4 of something and you need to break it up, or having a half of something and share with 7. So as far as our notes and review go, I think that we could flip back a few pages and already look at our division problems then.